Okay, good afternoon, everyone. And my name is Pei-Hsuan, and I'm from Taiwan. This work was done by me and my students from the southern part of Taiwan. And let me start from the background. So the cloud computing is defined by the National Institute of Standards and Technologies. And it has been offered a lot of different services, but it's most of the characteristics of the cloud computing is ubiquitous, convenient, on-demand network access. And then you can see a growing number of the cloud-based services and technologies. And we could also see that the cloud computing characteristics contains high elasticity, service orientation, strong fault tolerance, ease of use, relies on the standard communication protocol like such as TCP/IP, high security, and the virtualization, and then of course the parallel computing. And at the same time, we could also find that the ebook market is growing. It's growing very quickly. The growth rate is now 9%, according to the Global Information Statistics. And by 2034, it will be continuously growing, and it's also support the cross-device synchronizations, scalable storage, and real-time content delivery. So we have the ebook, and then we can see that the digital reading accessibility and interactivity has been increased. So the publishing value chain has totally changed with the development of the ebook. And so you can see that interactive technologies developed, and then the user-centered design and the interface usability. So we can see the flexible navigation and then also efficient content search become a central role for the people when they are evaluating a digital product. At the same time, there's cloud computing technologies, and they are improving the readiness and connectivities and influence whether the cloud-based services are feasible or is better to get adopted in the first place. So now in the current literature, we can see there's a gap between the interface design and the cloud computing infrastructures. Before we can see most of the literature, they studied these two part of the literature separately. But in this study, we wanted to close the gap and we want to study together. So we know that the positive user experiences will drive greater customers retention, and then also they will continuously using the digital products. It's also closely connected to the satisfactions and loyalty. We will expect the positive user experiences, and we also expect the higher levels of the engagement and personalized experiences. And so the role here underlying the cloud computing infrastructures is playing a role here in the back end for providing the personalized, satisfied experiences. So what the role does underlying this cloud computing infrastructures here, and we really wanted to measure that kind of the role statistically. And so this is the interactive ebooks. You can see that this is the model that we have been established. And then on the left side, you can see the ebook interactive features. It contains choice or selectivity, participation, responsiveness, playfulness. And on the right side, you can see these are the user experiences, including intention, satisfactions, and the preferences. And then in the middle, you can see that there is a mediating effect, cloud computing characteristics. It contains connectivity, processing capability, and storage capability. Okay, so we wanted to ground the research in a real context, so we use a SyncMagic ebook platform. It's developed by a company. It's called Hammerstark Technology, and the contents focuses on the dementia. And there's an associations called Alzheimer associations, and they define that dementia is a general term for the loss of memory, languages, problem solving, and other thinking ability. It's pretty severe enough to interfere with the daily life. And the associations also see that the dementia is a common cause. So the ebook is a part of the nursing programs, the training program, the training courses at a hospital in the southern part of Taiwan, where my students will study there. And then so the content itself will carry the real educational weight, and it is not just a demo image. It is a real ebook. And we invited two groups of participants, and one group had experiences purchasing or reading the ebooks, and then they complete an anonymous surveys. The anonymous surveys distributed over 6 months. And then the other group consisted of medical care service provider. They support patients and family who are affected by the dementia. And so we collect both quantitative and qualitative data sets. We're focusing on looking at their interactive feature, choice, participation, responsiveness, and intended to enhance their engagement in reading the ebook, and then expecting to enhance their overall user experiences. So you can see that this is the measurement items. This is a quantitative survey. So this is a mixed methodologies that we adopted in the studies. And so these are the qualitative work that we did to refine how we can redesign the ebook. And these are all the observation items that we were looking into different groups. Remember, there are two groups of the people. And the first group were using finger loud skill and to explore the ebook, using the ebook. And there are both group of the people are professionals in the medical field, specifically taking care of the dementia, or they have to be accompanied with the patient, or become accompanied with the families who have the of the patients that with the dementia symptoms. And then so the other group that is that after we redesign the ebook, the other group they have to following this 19 items and using the observation to see how efficient that they can find the interactivity from the ebooks. And then this is the from the survey. So for the quantitative perspective, that you can see that there are 234 valid responses, and most of them are at the age of 30 to 35. There are 90 of them, and more females than males has been achieved a certain level of the reliability when they're taking the responses to the survey. And we also achieved the univariate normalities, including the squareness and the curtainess. And so these are from table 4, 5, and 6. You can see that all of these has matched the statistical hypothesis and also the threshold. We do some of the structural model result, and we report it here. You can see that both H1 and H2 has been supported. Okay, and so importantly is that our research has wanted to address the mediating effect of the cloud computing characteristics. You can see that all of the coefficient values here has been significant affected the relations connecting I and F to UX, to the user experiences. So both of the hypotheses are supported. And then so we mentioned that before, two groups of the 5 participants of each, and then the first group we using the pseudocode A2E, the second group that we using the pseudocode F2J. And you can see that there's a participant from the first group D, and then he said that, for example, when you click this images and then there was Chinese explanation next to it would be easier to understand. So he's really actually browsing and exploring the features and characteristics of the ebooks, and then with the back end that having a cloud computing characteristics behind the ebooks. And then the second group of the participants, after we redesign the ebooks, and the second group of the participants, they read the ebook and then they observe based on the observation item. Remember, there are 19 observation items. And then so the results will be like this. You can see that how much time that they spend for each one of the items. There are 19 in total. So overall, that's the participants in the second group. They took about 56.4 seconds to complete all 19 observation items. And you can see that the fluency of playing or using the ebook has been improved. And the interactivity features has met their expectations. Of course, there are some clicks and some drag and clicks that still need some time to make it much more easier to operate. But it has been making the users to be more engaged. So this is like into our conclusions. This studies really bridge the gap between the technology design of ebook interactive features and the HCI research on user experiences. And our research is a mixed method. We combine the structural equation model, SEM, think aloud, observations, and also we wanted to strengthen the theoretical model and show how the qualitative insight can directly inform the hypothesis testing and then the model refinement in the SEM research. So the cloud computing capabilities underneath the interactive features, especially we are increasingly enhanced by the AI. We will need to pay attention in the literature on the digital services and the new services design. It's not just studying the interface alone. The infrastructures behind it matters too. So our results give some empirical support for that, our assumptions that two things that in our research, whenever that we are designing interactivity, we have to also think about how the back end that support that kind of interactivities. So practically, first, most of the interactions in the ebook are simple clicks and browsing. And so we still need to, further to simplify or to make the interactions more straightforward. And second, given how we are looking at the mobile phone, so the screen size will be a concern in the mobile devices. So how information can be presented in the interface and how easily user can find what they wanted to read. And also, we need to really consider the critical design issues in the future version ones that we wanted to add more interactivity, how the back end can support that. Thank you very much for your attention. Thank you.